YouTube edition of the RCWR Show. WWE Raw went old school tonight, and it was a night that many fans had been eagerly anticipating all week long since footage of him had appeared from that house show event down in Texas. That's right, folks. I'm talking about the Phenom, the Dead Man, the Last Outlaw. The Undertaker made his eagerly anticipated return to the WWE Universe officially as a new contender was selected to take him on at this year's WrestleMania. Also, for the first time ever since losing to The Rock at last year's WrestleMania, John Cena went face-to-face with the People's Champion, The Rock, in a counterpoint segment. Also, Triple H, the King of Kings, made his return tonight to address what all went down with that bloody brawl with the Beast, Brock Lesnar. You know how we do it over here. We're going to hook you up with the 411 on what all you might have missed from tonight's WWE Raw Old School Edition. It's the RCWR Show, YouTube exclusive. And it begins right now.
The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation. Keeping it honest, insightful, interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond. You're listening to the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Welcoming you to the YouTube edition of the RCWR Show. I am your host, the Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. Thank you all so much for checking out this episode wherever you may be right now on March 4th, 2014. I was about to say 2014. We aren't quite there just yet. Forgive me, folks. March 4th, 2013. This was a night that just spoke of epic proportions. If you remember how last year's WWE Old School Raw Edition went, it kind of left a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth. It really didn't have as much pop and sizzle as it should have. But this edition that we had got this year was by far a better improvement of what we got from the previous year. I was quite pleased with this. Hey, let's take it from the very top. We don't want to tease you guys for a long period of time here. Of course, as we said in that intro, the Dead Man, the Phenom, the Last Outlaw, the Undertaker made his eagerly anticipated return to kick off Old School Raw. The man did not even utter a word. He just simply came out, did the hand gesture, raised the flames up, and we see that WrestleMania 29 logo behind him that just gave you the strongest impression. It was a no-brainer right here that he was looking to have a match at WrestleMania. Only question is, who? That is the million-dollar question. From there, we saw a pretty kick-ass videographic intro for Old School Raw, where we were greeted by Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, who were dressed in retro outfits. Mind you, Jerry King busting out the old classic red crown, red royal blazer. Michael Cole busting up that classic WWF yellow mustard blazer is what it was being dubbed all night. The entire ring just had that nice 80s retro look to it. The apron, just everything right down to that little minor touch of detail just reeked of how it was back in the 80s. Even when the wrestlers were coming out and you got to see their name and the show information on the screen in the center lower right hand corner there, left hand corner, totally retro was what all we had got tonight. But we saw CM Punk come out afterwards. Just when you thought maybe Undertaker was going to make his way to the ring, talk, that wasn't even the case. Undertaker just literally came out, threw up his hands, did the fire thing, WrestleMania 29 logo behind him, disappeared. CM Punk comes out and he is still bitter over the fact that he had lost last week to John Cena, as Cena now has a date with destiny, folks. He's going to be meeting Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for that WWE title in Cena vs. Rock 2. And we would see CM Punk take his frustration out on the WWE Universe, saying that it is because of them that they will have themselves to blame because they won't be able to see him at WrestleMania. But then, being very envious of one Undertaker's impressive Mania streak of 20-0, he would bash the WWE Universe for loving and basking in the glory of the Undertaker's streak and loving it more and appreciating it more than his streak as the WWE Champion for 440 plus days. And to that, CM Punk would tell the WWE Universe that he is going to give Undertaker that loss that he has coming to him. It will be 20-1, and the 1 representing one who is straight edge, alcohol, drug-free, the best in the world. This is CM Punk's declaration to the WWE Universe, as he is going to make them pay dearly by defeating their idol, ending the streak of a true wrestling legend, The Undertaker. Well, we would actually see Randy Orton, followed by Sheamus, followed by Big Show, all come out laying claim as to why they should be the ones to take on The Undertaker. We go to Randy Orton's side. Randy does bring up the fact that 8 years ago he did take on Undertaker. He was very close to beating him, but that times are different now because back then he was just wet behind the ears. He was a rookie, but now he has had a lot of in-ring experience. He's a veteran now. He feels he can step up to the plate this time around and deliver Undertaker's first Mania defeat. We go to Big Show. Big Show recalls taking him on once before and coming up very, very short, but recalls how now it is different because he has that devastating punch known as the weapon of mass destruction. Sheamus comes out and he has a very interesting argument of his own, which is he has never had the opportunity to face Undertaker, ever. And that with a little bit of luck from the Irish and his brogue kick, he will be the one to win his way to victory. And he feels he should be the one to earn the right to take on The Undertaker this year. This would lead to the acting supervising manager of Raw, Vicky Guerrero, looking oh tight, bootylicious with her brown outfit skirt on tonight. I mean, that thing just looked like it was painted on, literally. She looked like she was suffocating in that thing. But hey, if you like your thick women, boys and girls, hey, she had a lot going on, let me tell you. She actually made a fatal four-way match between Sheamus, Big Show, Orton, CM Punk, where the winner will go on to face Undertaker at this year's WrestleMania, and the stakes could not get any higher, folks. I'm just going to tease you with that for now. We'll let you know who the winner of that was in just a little bit, but that's your little teaser for now, as again, that was our main event match. Speaking of matches, let's talk about some of the matches that we had saw tonight, as we pretty much had got a total of 9 decent matches, really 10, but there was a little bit of off starts in between some of these matches. Let's run it down for you very quickly. First match of the night, we saw Feed Me More. Feed Me More. Ryback in action as he took on Antonio Cesaro, the United States Champion. Bear in mind, the U.S. Champion is no longer pushing the American flag as he continues to be disrespected by the WWE Universe, but he is sure as hell loving the idea of being the United States Champion. This was a damn good match right here between these two guys. we actually saw Antonio Cesaro pick up this beast of a man in Ryback, and he was about to deliver the neutralizer, but he just couldn't get it all in there. Not enough mustard in those guns of his. We saw Ryback actually counter it and turned it into shell shock. Great match right here. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And that's how I was dubbing a lot of these matches throughout the night, on that type of a grading scale from 1 to 5. 1 being the worst, 5 being the most excellent. Now, surprisingly, after Ryback had defeated Cesaro, we saw Ryback make his way up the ramp. And we heard the music of the Silverback, Mark Henry, and it was just goosebumps and just ice cold chilling right here as we saw Mark Henry, Ryback just look at one another for what seemed like an eternity as Mark Henry just slowly, like a panther looking at its prey, just walked around him and just kept looking at him the whole time. And went into the ring. This just really spoke large implications to me that we're going to be seeing Ryback take on Mark Henry at WrestleMania. And I know some people were kind of loving the idea of possibly Chris Jericho versus Ryback, and I, for one, I've gone on record. I said that would be something that would really be phenomenal, especially if they could do it in a way where they can kind of recapture the magic that Jericho and Goldberg had in the WCW days, and also briefly when Goldberg was in WWE. But given the fact that Jericho has been so popular this go round as a babyface, something that he hasn't done for a long time, quite honestly, the fans are just eating it up. Unfortunately, it doesn't even look like that's going to happen now. It would just be really weird with 5 weeks left, basically 5 Raws left until WrestleMania 29. It would just be really weird and silly at this point to have Chris Jericho go heel. So I'm loving this idea of a Ryback versus Mark Henry. Should be very interesting to see how Main Event and SmackDown play out leading up until Raw next week. Whether or not we're going to see these two men continue to give each other glances. Another match that we had, speaking of Mark Henry there, let's stay with Mark Henry. He was in a squash match against Zack Ryder, and this one you really couldn't get behind. This was pretty much about Mark Henry continuing his dominance, continuing to induct people into his Hall of Pain as he inducted Zack Ryder, who looked to have an impressive and explosive offense from the beginning, but just looked like it wasn't enough because Henry just had this poor young boy's number. Third match, we got to see Dolph Ziggler take on The Miz, and want to talk about old school Raw. It wouldn't be old school without a couple of legends making their return, and one of the legends that made their return tonight was the Nature Boy, 16-time World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair, coming into the corner of Miz, rooting him on. Miz really playing up to Ric Flair, saying how he is his idol and that he's honored to have him in his corner tonight to try to help even the odds, as we did have AJ Lee there. We had Big E Langston there. One point we even saw Ric Flair get in the face of Big E Langston and try to deliver his trademark chops, but it just was not phasing this bull of a beast. Well, luckily we saw The Miz kind of get in between all that and was kind of brawling with Big E Langston there for a little bit. But surprisingly, folks, and this may disappoint some of you all, Dolph Ziggler actually lost to The Miz. Now, I was a little bit critical of this, and I'm hoping that with Main Event coming up Wednesday on the Ion channel, we know the tapings usually go down between tonight's Raw and Tuesday's SmackDown. Hopefully on Main Event, maybe we'll get to see Dolph Ziggler have a match on there, because right now his stock doesn't look so good going into SmackDown this Friday night. Well, remember, the WWE Universe, you all had selected Dolph Ziggler to be the one to face Del Rio for the World Heavyweight title, as last Friday night was social media SmackDown. So with this loss that Ziggler had got from The Miz, and it was a clean loss that it was a clean loss that Dolph Ziggler had took here from The Miz, as he tapped via submission, as Miz had applied that classic figure four leg lock, paying homage to the Nature Boy there. I just kind of can't help but wonder what exactly is going on right here with Dolph Ziggler. And as I pointed out last Tuesday night on the RCWR show, and I went into a little bit more detail on our weekend edition of the RCWR show, there are a lot of interesting twists that could play out on SmackDown. We could see Dolph Ziggler face Alberto Del Rio twice, folks. We could see a scenario play out where Dolph Ziggler's giving it his all against Del Rio, great 5-star quality type of match. Dolph Ziggler comes up short post-match. We could see Big E Langston, AJ Lee play some type of a role in decimating Ricardo Rodriguez if he is there at ringside. And we very well could see the match get restarted and Dolph Ziggler cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase to become the new World Heavyweight Champion. A lot is possible right here. Now, it's highly unlikely, but just the idea that it could happen on SmackDown definitely is going to be a must-watch episode this Friday night. But once again, we got main event. Hopefully we get to see Ziggler redeem himself, get that stock back up to kind of make you believe that he does have a fighting chance against taking away that title from Del Rio on SmackDown. Alright, and in another match, we had saw the team of Hell Knows, Kane and Daniel Bryan. They had defeated the primetime players, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. Now, I shall point out to you guys, with regards to this match, and if you don't have that WWE Raw Active app, you guys are missing out on all the fun. Great way to kick on back in between commercial breaks from Raw on the USA Network. The action always continues if you have that WWE Raw Active app. Personally, I love checking it out on my iPad. I never miss out. We saw in an exclusive Raw Active segment, primetime players, Titus O'Neil, Darren Young, they had tried to acquire the services of WWE legend $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, wanting him to be their manager. DiBiase told him, hey, put on an impressive outing for me against Team Hell No, and I will strongly consider it. And we saw a pretty decent tag match between both teams, but in the end, Team Hell No looked like they got back on the same page. They've been on I guess you could call it a new streak, if you want to call it that. It seems like they've been on the same page within recent weeks. Well, post-match, we saw $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. He pulled out a $100 bill and he shoved it into the mouth of Darren Young, a sign that that's their loss. He's not interested. But on a more funnier note, we saw Daniel Bryan just walk up right after $1 Million Man and Kane went up to the ramp, grabbed that $100 bill, put it in his trousers there, in his trunks, and just walked off. It was funny because Daniel Bryan and Kane, they didn't even talk tonight. That was the funny part. You saw one backstage segment with the two of them. They were walking, looking at each other, giving each other funny looks and pretending like they weren't looking at one another. And Daniel Bryan's facial expressions was just priceless right there. And then to see what he did post-match, taking that $100 bill, I mean, really, Daniel Bryan is just truly freaking underrated right now. That guy is just freaking awesome. I mean, he doesn't even have to say anything. He's just able to get your attention just like that. I love that. It was the night that a lot of people had been looking forward to, which really wasn't that hyped up enough if you were watching WWE programming last week, and it was honestly quite nice that it all had came together on this old school edition of Monday Night Raw. It was John Cena meeting The Rock face to face for the first time since John Cena had lost to him at last year's WrestleMania. This was truly a segment of epic proportions right here. Now, we saw Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson kick things off. Thunderous ovation that he received from the Buffalo, New York crowd. He told them a great funny story how he was down in Panama and it was 95 degrees every single day, day and night, and how he couldn't wait to get back to the U.S. because he knew he was going to be coming to Buffalo, New York. First time in 10 years, mind you. And he was at the airport, and the person behind the desk had asked him where was his jacket. Wasn't he going to wear one? And in true Rock fashion, he basically told the woman he doesn't need no jacket because he's The Rock and he runs off of the electricity from the people. But he did admit that as soon as his plane had touched ground and he was on his way to the arena, his nipples were just so ice cold. He swore that popsicles were growing from them. That's how cold it was. And he's just happy to be back in Buffalo, New York. Well, John Cena interrupted him. Came out to a mixed reaction too. We heard boos and we heard just a slight hint of cheers right here. But John Cena comes out, tells The Rock he's sorry to interrupt, and actually gives him his props, telling him, hey, you were very popular back in the Attitude Era. You took the company to new heights. You left the company at the height of your success. You went and dominated in Hollywood. You come on back here years later and you become the WWE champion. You have my respect, but I should point out to you, I told everybody, even those close to me, Rock, that I was going to beat you, that I had to beat you last year. And I came up short. And just chilling words right there as John Cena really kind of gave you the impression he was really going intimate right here, that he was really scratching the true surface of how rattled it made him that he had lost to The Rock, and pointing out that since that point he had been in nothing but a funk, trying to find himself all over again, and that he believes it wasn't fate that on the night that The Rock had retained his title against CM Punk at the Royal Rumble, and he winning the Royal Rumble pay-per-view to go to the main event at WrestleMania, it was not a coincidence that this is nothing more than fate stepping in, as Cena believes that he is on a path of redemption and that he is going to get back that WWE title. Well, The Rock would pick up on what he was trying to say a couple of weeks ago when last he was in that WWE ring, which was giving his preference for who he would like to face at Mania this year, saying that he wanted it to be John Cena because he knows it's with that fire and desire that he knows John Cena is going to bring his best A game. And Rock would say to Cena that yes, you may come out, you may wear your heart on your sleeve, you may have all the names of your family members on your dog tags, and you come on out and you are all about loyalty, you are all about heart, you're all about dedication, all about hard work, everything that has got you to where you are right now. He's like, I respect that, but I am exactly those things as well. And The Rock telling John Cena that he knows that he's going to beat him at WrestleMania. Just bone-chilling words right here, going back and forth from these two men. A very intense promo indeed between these two men, boys and girls. Now, at one point, we even heard The Rock say to John Cena in 34 days, it's not about getting redemption, Cena. It's going to be about getting your ass kicked. And Rock even uttered the words of Mike Tyson, or correction, it was John Cena that had spoke the words of Mike Tyson, saying, and I quote right here, "In order to be the greatest that ever lived, you have to beat the one living." And John Cena would say to The Rock that he's accomplished every single goal he set out for in the WWE. He has taken on and overcome every obstacle except for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, as he tells him that his time is up and his time is now. Rocky would brilliantly counter back by quoting words of astronaut Lance Armstrong, saying, "Winning is about heart. You just gotta have it in the right place." And Rocky would then call Armstrong full of crap, just like John Cena. Cena reassures The Rock once again that he will be defeating him at WrestleMania. Rocky tells Cena he thinks that he can beat him, but he knows that he can and will beat him again. Strong delivery right here. Now, we had some people that looked at this segment, they wanted to crap on it, they thought it was nothing more than a blah 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 yakety smackety segment, but you couldn't help but get goosebumps, you couldn't help but get the chills as you were watching these two men get it on. I mean, these two men, they were just oozing with electricity back and forth. I mean, they just played very well together. I enjoyed this a little bit more than some of the stuff that we had saw from them in the previous year, but that was one of my favorite highlights of the night, folks. In another match, we had got to see Heath Slater, Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre of 3MB lose in great fashion. It was like maybe 15 seconds this match was. They lost to Tenzai, aka Sweet Tea, Brodus Clay, and the Honky Tonk Man, who made his return tonight. Post-match was really funny. We saw Heath Slater. He got in the ring and he tried to get in the face of the Honky Tonk Man. Bad timing right here, as Honky Tonk Man just happened to have an acoustic guitar in his hand, took it over the head of Heath Slater. Slater laid out. He was dreaming about the stars, literally, especially the ones that he will never be able to lay claim to. Well, we came very close to seeing it tonight. It was supposed to be the debut of Fandango against Kofi Kingston. Boom, boom. But this match did not happen because Justin Roberts did not get Fandango's name right, and this made Fandango upset. 3 times, Justin Roberts, ring announcer, he tried to get the name right, but Fandango, he had enough, and he said, "It's because of you, it's because of Kofi, it's because of the WWE Universe that I will not be wrestling tonight, and I will not be until you get the name right." We saw some of the comments that you all had made about this, and we'll definitely share them this Tuesday night on the RCWR Show Wrestling Report Edition with co-host Diamond K. But truly, another segment, another opportunity right here where really it was just about Fandango saying his name. At one point, and I thought this was really funny, we heard Fandango say his name, and we actually heard somebody in the crowd say, "That's not your name is Johnny Curtis, get it right." Some hilarious stuff right there. And making his return since last week, where he had beat the holy crap out of Brock Lesnar, was the King of Kings, the Game, the Cerebral Assassin, Triple H, who issued a challenge to Brock Lesnar. Triple H talking about how emotional it was for him when he had got whooped by Lesnar at SummerSlam 8 months ago. He thought he was done, but turns out the next day he found himself training every day religiously, especially when the cast came off his arm. He really found himself getting back into the best shape that he's ever been in years, and that he just couldn't find the right reason why he was doing what he was doing. But it didn't dawn on him until he saw his father-in-law, Vince McMahon, get that F5 from Brock Lesnar, and then he had to have that hip surgery. And as he's laying in the bed, Stephanie McMahon is looking on, crying. Hunter's kids, Vince's grandkids, are looking on crying, but inside, Hunter got a smile on his face because he knew it was that moment right there. Did he know why he was doing all the training and everything he was doing? Is because he wanted another shot at Brock Lesnar, and he knew what time it was when Paul Heyman was going to be taking on Vince McMahon last week. He knew, and he was betting on Paul Heyman acquiring the services of Brock Lesnar, and he was ready for it. And now that he has given Brock Lesnar one serious ass whooping, busted him open so bad, bloodied, needed 12 to 18 stitches, Triple H only wants to know one thing, and that is if Brock Lesnar is going to kick on back, sit at home and bleed, or if he's going to meet Triple H one-on-one at WrestleMania one more time to end it once and for all. So the challenge has been sent to Brock Lesnar. How will Lesnar respond? Should be very interesting to see what plays out next week, as we didn't even have Paul Heyman in attendance tonight. Very curious to see what's going to go down next week. And folks, we saw Alberto Del Rio defeat Wade Barrett. Now, here's a side right here. Alberto Del Rio, World Heavyweight Champion. He looked pretty damn strong right here against Wade Barrett. But surprisingly, we didn't even get to see a Wade Barrett and Sheamus little backstage skit this week. I was kind of liking Sheamus coming out and making fun of Barrett's performance in Dead Man Walking, starring Colin Farrell. I guess they kind of laid off that for a little bit. Hey, it's all good, but that was another good match. For the first time in almost 13 years, it was the return of the New Age Outlaws. Oh, you didn't know? That's right, Road Dogg, D-O-double-G, with badass Billy Gunn. They had defeated Primo and Epico. They got a pretty lackluster reception from the crowd, I must admit. It had me kicking back saying, WTF, don't these folks know who the hell the New Age Outlaws are? I mean, we saw badass Billy Gunn, Road Dogg. They were talking up a good storm. They hadn't missed a step. It was almost like these guys were in their younger years again. They just had a little bit of gray on top of their heads, but they didn't miss a beat. And in ring performance-wise, they damn sure had delivered. And it's quite unfortunate that they had got the win over Primo and Epico, as they are a decent tag team. They don't know how to cut promos. They're always quiet, but they are pretty damn good in the ring. And honestly, I couldn't think of another tag team to have faced the New Age Outlaws. Great moment right here. Little bit of a missed opportunity. We didn't get to see a D-Generation X reunion, as of course Brock Lesnar. And it's a smart move from WWE writing standpoint, as Triple H is focused on Brock Lesnar right now. But you know what? Wouldn't surprise me one little bit, maybe, if after Raw went off the air, there was something that kind of went on there. Who knows? And of course, in that main event match of the night, folks, let's hook you up with that info. It was Randy Orton taking on CM Punk, taking on Big Show, taking on Sheamus. You knew it was going to be all about one man. You knew it was going to be about him taking on the streak. It had been written in stone for weeks now. Pretty much ever since word had came out that The Rock was going to be coming back at Royal Rumble to take on whoever the WWE champion is, we all knew that it was going to be CM Punk to take on The Undertaker. It was going to be streak versus streak. The only thing was, how was it going to play out storyline-wise? And this is the route that they decided to go, as CM Punk won that fatal four-way to win the right to face The Undertaker at this year's WrestleMania. At the end of the match, we saw Undertaker. He came out, looked at CM Punk, The two men are just looking at one another. Undertaker standing at the top of the ramp there, looking on at CM Punk. And that was pretty much it, folks. So this really did not surprise me one little bit. I know some people are really going to be looking at this particular match. And we are already hearing the buzz. A lot of people saying to themselves, my God, you have CM Punk lose at Survivor Series, then, correction, you have CM Punk lose at the Royal Rumble, then you have him lose at Elimination Chamber, and now you're going to have him lose at WrestleMania. WTF, what the heck is going on right here? WWE, why are you guys continuing to bury CM Punk? That is the question that is on a lot of people's minds right now. And I tell you what, me and Diamond K this Tuesday night on the Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR Show, we will be going in depth about that. We will also go more in depth about how tonight's old school Raw played out. I will definitely share with you my personal thoughts on who I would have loved to have seen make their appearance on this edition tonight. But in the meantime, leading up into that episode, which you'll be able to catch live at 11 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show, or you can catch our remixed edition version of it exclusively for YouTube. That's why we are dubbing it our remixed edition. You'll be able to catch it out on YouTube later on in the night after it originally goes off the air. Leading up into that, boys and girls, you can leave your comments on what you thought about the old school edition of tonight's Raw. And we'll share some of you all's comments on our show this Tuesday night. And again, we'll go more in depth about what all had went down with Undertaker being the one to face CM Punk. Is CM Punk being put in a very bad position where he's going to get buried for another month? We'll talk about the overall experience of old school Raw, which honestly I will go on record and say, for the record, it was a more executed and well-produced old school edition than what we got last year. I will say that for the record. But overall, definitely scale of 1 to 5. I would have to give Old School Edition Raw a modest 3.5, almost a 4 out of 5. Keep those comments coming in. Love it when we hear from you guys. To all of you that have left comments in the past, thank you humbly. For those of you that will be leaving future comments for us, hey, we appreciate it. If you ended up liking our coverage of tonight's Raw and you end up backtracking to previous episodes, and one of the ones I'd like to highly recommend to you all is to scoop up the exclusive interview that's now available on our YouTube channel with WWF legend and future WWE Hall of Famer Bruno Sammartino. Go check that out. It was a great exclusive 40-plus minute interview with the legend. Check it out. And hey, and if you end up checking out more of our stuff, like it, do us a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on all the great content that we post from time to time, as we do a lot of great stuff on our YouTube channel. We post a lot of exclusives, just like what you're listening to right now. That's going to do it, boys and girls, till we hear from you all this Tuesday night for our Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR Show with co-host Diamond K at 11 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. I'm the Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. You all be safe and be kind to one another, folks. We'll see you Tuesday night. Everybody, take care.